Hello and welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. I'm your host, and I'm super excited to get into this one.
Hi there, I am too. It is really great to be here to unpack all of this with you.
So, to start us off, I want you to think about something. What if I told you that, the most critical defining moment of your day isn't that massive presentation you have at 10 a.m.?
Right, or, the endless meetings you have to sit through.
Exactly. Or
Huh.
even the actual work you produce. What if the most important part of your day is actually the 15 minutes you spend just intentionally wasting time in your car before you walk into the building?
It sounds incredibly counterintuitive, I know, especially since we live in a culture that's just, well, obsessed with productivity.
Totally.
We're conditioned to think that the destination is the only thing that matters, right? And everything leading up to it is just like dead space.
Mhm.
But psychologically speaking, that dead space is actually where all the survival preparation happens.
Yes. And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. Because, I mean, if you ever dreaded an impending obligation,
Like a soul-crushing commute.
yeah, or a terrifying doctor's appointment, or just the sheer monotony of a Tuesday morning,
Yeah.
if you felt that, you are really going to want to hear this.
Absolutely.
Because today, our mission is to take a deep dive into the source material from the Moonshadow Adventure series. We are looking directly at the transcripts.
And it is such a fascinating source to look at for this specific topic.
It really is. We're going to trace this very specific chronological arc of a morning.
Hmm.
From a rushed breakfast to a completely bizarre fast food meetup, and finally the commute to a dreaded school day.
Right, to figure out exactly how we manufacture this sort of psychological armor.
Yeah, armor to survive environments we just really do not want to be in.
Yeah.
Banter the character dynamics, it's hilarious, but also so deep.
The Moonshadow Adventures transcripts are basically a perfect case study for this.
Mm.
They capture the raw, totally unfiltered mechanics of avoidance
Mm.
and social tethering. It's a brilliant look at how human beings, especially young people, construct these temporary sanctuaries to delay the inevitable.
Okay, so let's jump right into the baseline here. Section 1, the morning wake-up. Because every journey to a place you dread starts at home base.
Right, the starting village, basically.
Exactly like a starting village in a video game. So the alarm goes off, and the very first action we see, literally before the character's feet even hit the cold floor, is grabbing the phone.
To check for messages, yeah.
Right. And they find a sweet message from a friend. Now, on the surface, that just looks like a typical modern reflex. But I look at that and see a lifeline being thrown.
Oh, for sure.
It is like they are checking the daily quest log or checking the structural integrity of their social safety net before they even dare to enter the physical world.
I actually think you can push that analogy even further.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, it's not just checking a safety net, it's an active recalibration of their environment. Think about it. When you wake up, your immediate environment is your bedroom.
Right, your house, your family.
Exactly. But by immediately looking at that text message, the character is allowing the external peer group to dictate their reality first.
Oh, wow. Yeah, before their own household even gets a chance to.
Right. The social gravity of the squad is already pulling them out of bed, completely overriding the physical comfort of sleep.
Which perfectly explains the absolute paradox of the breakfast scene.
It's so funny.
It is. So the mom has made this incredible spread. I mean, they're equipping their gear for the journey. The characters are literally praising it, saying, "This looks amazing, and this is so good."
But then they don't eat it.
Right. In the exact same breath, they declare they can't finish it because they are in such a rush to meet their friends. I mean, if I have an amazing warm breakfast in front of me and a place I dread going to in my future, I am chewing as slowly as humanly possible. So why this sudden rush to leave that comfort?
Because biological comfort, like even an amazing meal from a caring parent, it just cannot compete with the psychological necessity of the buffer
The
zone.
buffer zone, right?
Yeah, think about the hierarchy of needs in this specific context. Yes, the food is nourishing, and yes, the home is safe. But the home is also entirely isolated from the threat of the school day.
Oh, I see.
They aren't rushing to get to school. They are rushing to get to the staging area before school. They need to leave the house to maximize their time in that transitional space with their peers.
Because that peer group is the only thing that makes the final destination tolerable.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is the mom seems to completely understand this dynamic too. She doesn't get offended that they're bailing on her amazing breakfast.
No, she's very cool about it.
Yeah, she just tells them not to worry about cleaning up.
Hmm.
But as they rush out the door, she drops this one specific instruction to the brother.
Mm-hmm.
She tells him, "Look after your sister, okay? And he agrees. So my question for you is, in an otherwise chaotic morning rush, why is that specific detail of the brother needing to look after his sister so crucial?
Well, it's a subtle but really crucial piece of sociological world building. The mother's instruction acknowledges that while the home is a sanctuary, the outside world is the wilderness.
The wilderness, right?
By telling him to look after his sister, she is officially activating the buddy system. She's establishing a protective sibling baseline.
Oh, I love that. A sibling baseline.
Right. Before they even meet up with the larger friend group, they're entering the social arena as a unified front. They have each other's backs.
Which brings us to my absolute favorite part of this entire transcript.
The restaurant.
Yes, they leave the house, fully armored up as a sibling unit, and they enter the wild. But they don't head to school. They head to a fast food restaurant.
The buffer zone.
And this isn't just a casual pop-in to grab a hash brown. They walk up to the counter and boldly state, yes, we have a reservation under 391.
It is so good.
A numeric, secret agent-style reservation code for a fast food joint. It is completely absurd.
It is totally absurd, but it reveals a profound coping mechanism, what we call manufactured control.
Manufactured control. Tell me more about that.
Well, when you are a young person facing a mandatory institution like school, you have zero control over your schedule, or your environment, or your physical autonomy.
Right, you're just told where to be and when to be there.
Exactly.
Yep.
So what do? You artificially inflate the importance and exclusivity of the spaces you do control.
Like the fast food place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By treating a fluorescent-lit fast food restaurant like an exclusive VIP lounge with a coded reservation, they are reclaiming agency over their morning.
I love that framing. Manufactured control.
Uh-huh.
Because they are absolutely treating this place like their own private headquarters. But here is where the timeline completely throws me.
Okay, what is it?
They get to the table. The friends are already inside waiting, and one friend tells the character Luna to relax. And then they are greeted with this highly sarcastic line.
Oh, right.
The friend says, nice for you and your sister to show up. We then learn the friends have been waiting in this booth for 30 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, if my friends made me sit in a fast food booth for 30 minutes, I would be livid. I'd have eaten all their fries by the time they arrived.
Oh, same here.
What's this level of patience tell us? These friends aren't actually mad, are they?
Not at all. If you look at the mechanics of stalling, that 30-minute wait isn't a failure of scheduling. It's actually a massive success.
Wait, a success? How?
Because the fast food restaurant is a liminal space. It's an airlock between the safety of home and the hostile environment of school.
Oh, an airlock. That makes so much sense.
The friends who arrived early weren't suffering through a delay. They were maximizing their time in the airlock. That sarcastic greeting, nice for you to show up, is purely social currency.
It's just banter.
Right. It's a way of validating the shared experience and reinforcing the bonds of the group through gentle friction.
You know, if you are listening to this right now and thinking, well, I don't make fake reservations at fast food joints, just think about your own habits for a second. If you have ever arrived at your office 10 minutes early, but instead of walking in, you just sat in your car scrolling on your phone to run the clock down, you are doing exactly what these characters are doing.
Precisely.
You are sitting in the airlock.
You are intentionally stalling to preserve your autonomy for as long as biologically possible.
And the characters in the transcript take the stalling to a level of absolute hilarious genius with the waitress.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So earlier, the waitress checks on them and they wave her off. But as the clock is ticking down, one friend points out they should call the waitress back just so she can take away an empty cup.
Right, just an empty cup.
And the character actually yells across the restaurant, oh, snap, you're right, miss. Miss, I need something. The waitress rushes over, probably bracing for a complaint or something.
Yeah, she's probably stressed out.
And the character just looks at her and says, I'm just here to tell you I'm finished with my drink.
It is so incredibly awkward.
Awkward and funny. It is peak awkward teen humor.
It really is a masterclass in micro-rebellions because normally the social contract of a restaurant dictates that you want efficient service so you can eat and leave.
Right, you want to get out of there.
But their goal is the exact opposite. They want friction.
Friction, yeah.
They want to create as much conversational and transactional friction as possible to stretch time. By orchestrating this entirely unnecessary interaction over an empty cup, they are shaving another 60 seconds off the impending school day.
That is brilliant. It looks like a joke, but structurally, it's a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
But, you know, the airlock has a time limit. The stalling eventually hits a wall, and the reality of the morning just forces its way into the conversation.
It always does.
The transition in the transcript is pretty brutal. One of them just flatly asks, "So are you guys ready for school after this?" And the honest response is a completely unvarnished, "No, not really."
The absence of pretense there is really striking. Nobody says, "Come on, it'll be great."
Right. No toxic positivity.
Exactly. They collectively acknowledge the shared dread. They name the threat.
And they explicitly name it later as boring school. What I find so fascinating here is what isn't said. Like it's the looming cloud. When I read dread of school, I expect them to complain about an impossible math test, or a mean teacher, or a presentation. But there is absolutely zero mention of academics.
None.
Does education even exist in this universe, or is boring school just like a default setting? Is the school itself the problem, or is the focus entirely on social survival?
It is entirely the latter. In the psychology of this group, the institution of school has been completely stripped of its educational purpose.
Wow.
It isn't a place of learning. It is simply a mandatory physical coordinate that they are forced to occupy.
A mandatory coordinate.
Right. The dread isn't about failing a test. The dread is about the loss of freedom. The school is just a holding pen.
Holding pen they have to survive. It's like facing a final boss in a game, and they're just dragging their feet to get there. But they do identify their survival strategy right there in the booth.
Yes, the silver lining.
Right. One of the friends says, "But as long as I get to hang out with you guys during school, I guess I'm ready." That one sentence completely recontextualizes the entire morning for me.
It really does.
The squad is the antidote. The mere presence of the group actively neutralizes the toxicity of the environment.
It's the psychological armor we were talking about earlier. The fast food restaurant was their physical sanctuary, but their friendship is their psychological sanctuary.
I love that.
As long as the group remains intact, the specific nature of the boring school doesn't actually matter. They can endure the holding pen because they have brought their buffer zone inside with them.
But before they can deploy that armor in the school, they have to physically get there. And they fight it until the bitter end.
They really do.
Even after acknowledging they have to go, the final Saul tactic is deployed. One of them says, "Yep, but first I got to pay the bill first. Every single second counts."
Paying the bill is the severing of the tether. As long as that bill is unpaid, they have a legitimate legal reason to remain in the sanctuary.
Right, they're still customers.
Once the transaction is complete, the airlock opens and they are thrust into the vacuum of the commute.
And you can feel the gravity shift the second they step outside. The physical reality of the walk begins. Someone is trailing behind, yelling, "Hey guys, wait for me."
You can vividly picture it.
You really can. The heavy backpacks, the dragging feet, the collective sigh of starting a grueling march toward a place nobody wants to be. And then the physical environment presents a massive contrast. They spot it. The sweet car.
The ultimate symbol of exemption.
Yes, exactly. They see this nice car driving by and immediately project all of their misery onto it. And say, "Oh, wow, look at that sweet car. They're so lucky they don't have to walk to school."
It is pure, unadulterated envy.
Oh, 100%. The people in the car are shielded from the elements. They aren't carrying heavy bags, and they are moving effortlessly while our characters are just slogging it out on foot.
It highlights the physical toll of dread. When you are heading toward an obligation you despise, the physical friction of getting there feels exponentially heavier.
Like the cold air, the distance.
Right, the effort. The car represents a complete circumvention of that friction.
But here is where the transcript delivers a spectacular plot twist. This isn't just a random car that drives past and splashes them with a puddle.
No, it's not.
The people inside the sweet car actually notice them. The car pulls over, the window rolls down, and the occupants say, "We seen you guys were walking to school. Do you want to ride?"
It is a phenomenal disruption of the narrative trajectory.
It is. When I read this, I immediately compared it to the giant eagles in Lord of the Rings swooping in to save the heroes from a grueling trek.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks. I mean, it isn't just about resting their legs. It feels like a sudden massive shift in atmospheric pressure. The heavy, oppressive weight they've been carrying since the alarm went off is instantly depressurized by this random offer. And they graciously accept, of course. They say, "That would be great. Thank you very much for the kind offer." And the whole tone of the morning pivots on a dime. Someone even yells, "Everyone ready to go," with actual enthusiasm. But I want to ask you about this. I want to push back a bit.
Okay, go for it.
Does getting a ride in a nice car actually cure the boring school blues? Or does it just defer the misery until they hit the front doors?
Well, That is the essential question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mechanically, no, it does not change the reality of the school. The school is still boring, the holding pen still awaits.
Right.
But what it does change is the entry vector. Think about the difference between arriving at a challenge exhausted, resentful, and feeling the full, grinding friction of the journey versus arriving buoyed by a stroke of serendipity.
Oh, that makes sense. It's about how you enter the space.
Exactly. The physical burden of the commute is instantly lifted by an unexpected act of community kindness. They aren't walking into school as victims of the morning grind. They are rolling up to school having just experienced a massive collective win.
They bypass the final boss of the morning routine. They hack the system. And, when you arrive feeling like you've won, the armor you bring into that building is infinitely stronger.
It fundamentally alters their emotional baseline. The dread is replaced, at least temporarily, by the high of the unexpected rescue.
Mm.
It proves that while we cannot always control the obligations we have to face, the interventions of others can completely rewrite how we experience those obligations.
Whether it's the sibling looking out for you,
Or the friends stalling the waitress for you.
right, or the stranger pulling the car over for you. That is so powerful. Let's pull back and look at the whole picture of what we've mapped out today. Because this simple chronological morning routine is actually a masterclass in human resilience.
It really is.
It starts with a baseline, the chaotic but loving home, where the instinct is to immediately tether oneself to the social group, cemented by that beautiful sibling buddy system.
Right. And from there, we move into the manufactured control of the fast food buffer zone.
Where 30 minutes of waiting and absurd fabricated interactions with waitstaff serve as vital psychological airlocks to delay the inevitable.
And when the delay tactics finally expire, we see the raw acknowledgement of the threat. Boring school.
Yeah.
Not as an academic hurdle, but as a mandatory physical trial that can only be survived because the squad is enduring it together.
Culminating in that grueling physical commute, which is instantly neutralized by a serendipitous shift in the environment. The sweet car ride that transforms a miserable march into a victorious arrival.
Exactly.
And this is where it all connects back to you, the listener. Think about the architecture of your own daily life. Think about the long, soul-sucking commutes.
The agonizing waits in fluorescent-lit lobbies.
Yes. Or the tedious, repetitive tasks you dread all week. So often, our emotional memory of those events isn't dictated by the tasks themselves. It is dictated entirely by the company we keep while doing them.
The environment will always present friction. But the social scaffolding you build around that friction, like the inside jokes in the break room, or the frantic group chats before the meeting.
Or the unexpected favor from a colleague.
Right. That is what actually dictates your reality.
Your itinerary might dictate where you have to be, but your people dictate how you survive it. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to unpack today. Think about that one obligation you are dreading the most right now. How much of that heavy, dragging sensation would evaporate instantly if you were suddenly facing it alongside your favorite people?
Or if a random stroke of luck, like a canceled meeting or an offered ride, suddenly changed your entry point.
It forces you to question whether the destination itself is the real source of the dread, or if it is just the isolation of the journey.
Exactly. Does the friction of the journey actually matter more than the destination itself?
Something to chew on the next time your alarm goes off, the floor is cold, and you reach for your phone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, and we will catch you on the next one.